use regretting it now, so let's just be gentlemen to the end. Perseus smiled and released Mirafara's hand. Your Highness, I just wanted to remind you that some jokes shouldn't be made lightly. It doesn't matter to me, but if it were someone else, the result might be different. Mirafara nodded blankly. I wasn't joking. She muttered under her breath, still unconvinced. Perseus was secretly alarmed. If she's still trying to trick him at this point, then this woman could sit at the same table as Helen. If not, then does that mean? Has Her Highness truly developed some unusual interest in him? Too bad he's not a fool. He won't even give you a little taste. And you think you can make him uneasy with just a few words? Dream. So let's pretend we didn't hear it for now and see if anything unexpected happens. Your Highness, class is about to start. Shall we go back to the classroom? Perseus said. Please wait a moment, Mirafara said, her head bowed. Although she was still embarrassed about what had happened, her complexion had returned to normal. This indicates that the ambiguous little episode has come to an end. Is there anything else you need? Perseus, do you really have no objection to my brother Jerome's idea? Mellifera asked seriously. No, Perseus replied without hesitation. Why? Because His Highness Jerome is the most upright person I have ever met. I have no doubt that he has ulterior motives behind this. So based solely on what he has said, I have nothing to add. Thank you for trusting him so much, but does Your Highness have any further concerns? Mellifera shook her head. Perhaps my thinking is too conservative, but since I promised to give him this opportunity, I will never go back on my word. Please keep an eye on me while you're supervising him, so that I don't lose control and interfere too much. But what if Your Highness really can't help yourself? If I try to dissuade you, it might cause you to dislike me, and I don't want to be alienated by Your Highness. Mirafara glanced at him quickly, then turned her head to the side. Please don't say things that could cause misunderstandings. You already have Miss Helen, but even losing His Highness's friendship would be a painful loss for me, Perseus said naturally. Is that so? Then how about this? Mirafara said with difficulty. If I insist on interfering despite my advice, you can use any means necessary to stop me. In any case, I will treat it as an emergency measure and will not hold you responsible afterward. So, if she ever gets stubborn one day, it's okay to carry her to bed and leave her too tired to get out of bed for 2 days? However, while the idea is nice, it cannot be done in practice. Once she's in bed, whether or not to hold him responsible is not up to her. Jerome and the entire kingdom of Infero might hunt him down to the ends of the earth. Thinking about it now, it seems that Helen's tongue wasn't something he could just eat whenever he wanted. Right now, they're all in love and don't care about anything else. But if they fall out one day, she could really kill him if she wanted to hold a grudge. But as long as we don't cross the final line, there shouldn't be any major problems, right? Perseus. Okay, I understand. I will do as instructed. Although that's what I said, you can't take this opportunity to do anything weird to me, Mellifera said warily. For example, Perseus smiled. You bad guy. Then let's pray she's not too cute then, otherwise he can't say for sure what might happen. Back in the classroom, Helen and Luna had already returned before them. Holding hands and whispering intimately in each other's ears, it was unclear what they had been talking about. He'd better ask Luna separately later, otherwise he wouldn't feel at ease. Ivaisa was still asleep, slumped over the table. Actually, she wasn't really sleeping. She was just doing nothing. Now, in this college, she has neither the person she is looking for nor the person looking for her. Only occasionally would Mellifera initiate a conversation with her, but she always ignored her. In a public setting like the classroom, Perseus couldn't openly harass her, so he could only let her be bored and lonely. This is really difficult. Perseus tucked a fresh and beautiful blue star flower behind her ear and returned to his seat. Luna immediately sat down. During class, Perseus glanced out of the corner of his eye toward the window. Ivaisa was still the same as always, with one hand supporting her chin and her face turned to the other side, so that no one could see her expression. Only the blue star flower that I was caressing and spinning between my fingers shone brightly in the sunlight. Chapter 61, Rooftop Again. Get out of class is over. This time, Perseus is going to have a heart-to-heart talk with Luna. Luna is a very naive girl, and because of this, she is easily deceived by bad people. Perseus must make sure he is the only bad guy. Luna, shall we go out and play? Perseus extended an invitation with a perfect smile. Luna glanced at Helene. No, I want to play with Sister Helene. Perseus looked at Helen, had a smile on her face. So, did this woman really give her silly little dog some kind of magic potion? There's no time to relax. I'm sorry, darling. Luna seems to be clinging to me more lately, Helen said, hugging Luna. Can I come with you? Perseus smiled. Seriously, we two girls were just having a private chat. What are you doing following us, a grown man? Helen gave him a coquettish glare. Anyway, you're so popular, you don't lack female company. After she finished speaking, she glanced at Ivisa. Ivisa had already tucked the blue star flower behind her ear and was completely ignoring the conversation. Snort. Whether she was genuinely angry or feigning it, Helen angrily led Luna away. It seems I'll have to find another time to meet with Luna alone. No matter how cunning Helen is, it's impossible for her to stay with Luna 24 hours a day. In such a short time, she can't possibly cause any trouble. Having been snubbed by his girlfriend and fiancé, Perseus had no time to wallow in despair. He decided to change tactics and take Ivisa out for a change of scenery. Firstly, to keep her company, help her relax, and strengthen our relationship. Secondly, you might just catch a big fish. However, he was not a person who was eager for quick success and instant benefits, and he did not have high expectations for the second point. Just strolling around campus with such a beautiful girl is already a kind of happiness. Perseus, get out here. A roar from the lioness forced Perseus to change his strategy once again. Ivisa did not look at the source of the sound, but rather at Perseus. Honey, I'm going out for a bit, Perseus said gently. Ivisa looked out the window. Somewhat annoyed by her cold attitude, Perseus decided to retaliate fiercely tonight. But now he has to take care of Duchess Lovia, who has somehow offended her again. A prominent figure in the academy like Lovia is always the center of attention, no matter what she does. Her emotional outburst in calling out to a man drew a large crowd of onlookers. Lovia, little one. As soon as Perseus approached, Lovia grabbed his collar. Then, she dragged him upstairs. It's a rooftop again. Lovia slammed the door shut and stared at Perseus with an extremely cold gaze. Miss Lovia, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? Perseus casually straightened his disheveled collar and asked with a smile. Can you even control your slave? If you can't, then take her and get out of the capital. Huh, he couldn't be happier. Did Ivy offend you in some way? That shouldn't be the case. Perseus frowned slightly. She's been back at school for over half a month now, and she's been behaving herself, not saying a word to anyone. Lovia remained silent. She certainly couldn't admit that she was so angry because Andre still liked Ivisa so much. However, this did not stop her from remaining angry. Perseus, haven't you been getting a little too cocky lately? Lovia sneered. Do you need me to help you remember where you were originally? Miss Lovia, although you are of noble status, you can't just take your anger out on me like that, can you? Perseus said helplessly. I can't let His Highness fall in love with someone else. Lovia froze, her face turning pale. You, how did you know? Was it Helen? Did Helen tell you? I was just saying it offhand. Why are you reacting so strongly? Perseus quickly said, Nobody told me anything, I was just guessing. Lovia, who had been burning with anger, calmed down again. She wasn't truly no longer angry. She just didn't want to show her true emotions in front of Perseus anymore. Without saying a word, Lovia slapped him across the face. Perseus caught her hand steadily. You dare to block me? Lovia exclaimed in disbelief. Why not? Even if you are of noble status, you can't just hit people randomly. Perseus said calmly. Just because you dare to talk about this. Who do you think you are? In my eyes, you're nothing but a bug. Don't think that just because you've had a few lucky moments in aristocratic circles recently, you've turned things around. A bug is a bug. Lovia pulled her hand back and slapped him hard again. This time, Perseus didn't block, letting her slap him across the face. However, Lovia, who was originally the one who hit someone, couldn't help but show a pained expression. It felt like she'd been slapped on a rock. Her hand was both painful and numb, almost losing all feeling. Magic? You dare to use magic on me? Lovia was furious. While the school rules prohibit the use of magic to attack others within the academy, they don't prohibit students from protecting themselves, do they? Perseus shrugged, his gaze falling on her slightly twitching right hand, and shook his head with a sigh. It's such a waste that you have such beautiful hands. Instead of using them to pick flowers, you use them to hit people. Are you hurt? Perseus stepped forward and took the hand in his own. What are you doing? Don't pretend. Lovia was instantly stunned. My hand doesn't hurt anymore. Based on what she had just witnessed, she had to come to an unbelievable conclusion. Perseus knows at least two types of magic. earth magic and light magic. What's even more crucial and terrifying is that, like Ivisa, he doesn't need to chant spells. Perseus bent down to examine the hand closely, turning it over and over, touching and feeling it, all the while marveling at it. Lovia was so shocked that she didn't even notice the man's offense. Despite his seemingly upright and gentlemanly demeanor, he was practically drooling over her hand. So you were hiding this all along? Is this why Helen favors you so much despite what others say? Lovia asked softly. Is this all it takes to shock the dignified Duchess Lovia? Perseus looked up at her. If I had acted more proactively earlier, would you have been less dismissive of me? I have other reasons for despising you. Furious, Lovia broke free from his grasp and shoved him hard. She didn't move him, but staggered back a few steps and almost fell. If Perseus hadn't caught her waist in time, this is a classic pose that's almost cliché, but Perseus has to admit, it feels really smooth. Lovia stared blankly at him, her whole being like the embers after her anger had burned out, and she was about to give up on herself. She looked quite disheveled in those few short minutes. It's really no one's fault but theirs. Something was wrong from the very beginning, so it's only natural that things ended up like this. Miss Lovia. Only then did Lovia have the mind to listen attentively to what he had to say. Although, she was just too lazy to hit anyone. As for your feelings, it is indeed not appropriate for me, an outsider, to comment. However, I simply cannot bear to see you, an angel, tormented and wounded like this. Therefore, if you just say the word, even if it costs me my life, I will rescue you from this sea of suffering. Perseus said solemnly. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Lovia laughed mockingly. You still say you didn't discuss this with that witch? You even say the same things. That witch? Which witch? Helen's voice. She does indeed resemble a witch. The door to the rooftop suddenly opened. Helen almost kicked the entire door off with her foot. Oh my gosh, my dear cousin. What are you and someone else's boyfriend doing? Practicing dance. Helen clicked her tongue and casually walked over, curiously looking them over with an indifferent smile in her eyes. Chapter 62, Lovia's Defeat. Lovia glanced at Helen without expression and said coldly, Can you let me go now? Certainly. Perseus first straightened her body before letting go, otherwise she would still fall. My husband is so considerate, Helen said with a smile, praising him endlessly. Unfortunately, no amount of consideration could soften Duchess Lovia's heart. In front of Helen, Lovia still slapped Perseus. It was still that same hand, but the slap was less forceful, only slightly stronger than a caress. She was afraid of hurting her hand again, but she still hit him, not to hurt Perseus, but to show her attitude. Cousin, you hit her boyfriend in front of her. That's really disrespectful to me, Helen said with a smile. Oh, Lovia sneered and turned to leave, but Helen lightly blocked her way. Cousin, you hit someone and then just leave without giving an explanation. Aren't you being a bit too willful? Helen raised an eyebrow. Don't you know best what kind of person he is? Shouldn't you have hit him? Even if we were to fight, it wouldn't be your turn. As the official girlfriend, I should still be able to breathe, right? So what do you want? Lovia crossed her arms, intrigued. Can I let you hit me back? 2 slaps, I'll count them myself. Actually, without them having to say anything, Perseus shut up on his own. He should stay out of this situation if possible. He just hopes they don't actually start fighting. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to stand firmly on Helen's side, which might lead to a breakdown in their relationship. After stunning Perseus with her gaze, Helen still smiled brightly. Cousin, you're joking. How could a younger sister dare to hit her older sister? I just hope you can learn from this and not let a man who doesn't care about you affect your emotions and hurt those who truly care about you. Lovia's icy expression twisted into a grimace for a moment. I never imagined you would say things that have nothing to do with this kind of man. If you're referring to the controversies surrounding His Highness the Crown Prince, then you can rest assured I haven't told anyone. In fact, I had no need to because... Helen smiled and said, Why bring up something that everyone already knows? Want to annoy people? Everyone knows? Lovia's eyes were so sharp they could kill, and the words seemed to be squeezed out from between her teeth. That's right, it's just that you, cousin, don't know, or rather, you think everyone else doesn't know. Lovia remained silent. Helen sighed. Cousin, it's not your fault. That's just how people are. They can know everything about others, but they often find it hard to recognize their own situation. You thought you had hidden your feelings very well, but that's not the case. Not only do I know my boyfriend knows, any random Tom, Dick, or Harry you pick out at the academy knows, even your beloved crown prince knows. Enough, Lovia roared impatiently. Stop spouting nonsense. I'll tear your mouth apart. I don't mind if you want to tear my mouth apart, but I won't